Hello everybody, I'm back. I haven't been doing any YouTube videos and I thought I'd come back here to give you a biscuit, making biscuits. So we're about to get started. Sorry I took so long to do another video, but here we go. We're going to be doing a biscuit recipe. I want to show you my cookbook. When I first got married, I had a cookbook that someone gave me, and it was a red and white Better Homes and Gardens new cookbook. Well, it's not so new anymore. It's beat up, stained, dirty, pages messed up, stains, pages falling out. This will be the biscuit page. I used it so many times to make biscuits for my family, and in this recipe it called for shortening. Well, one day this week during the ice, today is February, and at the beginning of February, and we had some ice, and I was off one day because I couldn't get to work because I was too scared to be on the roads because of the ice. So I didn't have shortening. My shortening was too old. I threw it away, and I asked a friend. I said, can I make biscuits with butter? And he said, yes, you can make biscuits with butter. And I'm like, I just stuck to a recipe that I got out of a cookbook. So with that being said, I have now going to be switching my recipe over to make biscuits with butter. So here we go, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So in a bowl, put you 2 cups of flour, and what I'm going to do in this bowl is to be putting 4 teaspoons of baking powder in that bowl. And then we're going to put dry ingredients in here first. And then it's going to be 2 tablespoons of sugar and a half a teaspoon of cream of tartar and a half a teaspoon of salt. I put those all together and put that in here. Washing my clothes. And you mix all those ingredients together and make sure they're mixed up. Then we'll pause the video to make sure the washing machine is still spinning. After you have all your dry ingredients in the bowl that I told you to put it in, the dry ingredients are 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You have all those in a bowl. Then you make sure you stir it all together to where everything gets incorporated. I actually had used my pastry knife that I'm going to be using to cut the butter in. Just make sure it's all mixed up. And what you're going to do next is make a hole in the middle, the hole in the middle is for the milk. Put your whole stick, I cut it in half, but what you're going to do is put your whole stick of butter, which is a half a cup of butter, in there, and it's softened to room temperature. What you're going to do is you're going to take your pastry knife. You can use a pastry knife, a large whisk, to cut the butter into the flour. And I'm going to turn my camera down to show you this. So in here, you're going to cut your butter. See the butter in there, the whole stick. You're going to mash your butter into the flour until you get a bunch of little pieces in it. Put it flat down. Shake all the butter off that you got on there. You're going to keep on doing that. Just move the flour all over the butter. I usually scrape it from the bottom and do it. I like using this pastry knife because it does it really easy. I can use pressure on it and just cut it all the butter in there. Some people will use their hands. Some people will use the whisk, whisk on there, a large whisk. But and some people will use a knife and a fork. If you have none of that, you can use a knife and a fork to cut that butter into little pieces each piece of butter has got flour around it. And some people will just mash their fingers around and until they get little pieces all the way through. And you don't see the butter anymore other than little pieces of chunks in there that's covered in flour. Now is when you do the hole in the middle. And my recipe calls for 2/3 a cup of milk. My recipe calls for 2/3 a cup of milk. But I put a little bit more. It's like 3/4 a cup of milk. So I'm going to put that milk in there and use my spoon to stir it up. And it's going to start getting to a consistency where I want to roll it on to knead it on my parchment paper. I'm using parchment paper. My mother actually cut a paper sack and stretched it out on her counter or table to make her biscuits. She would also make her dumplings on there. So see how it's like stuck together now? I'm going to put it on the parchment paper. She also would make red dumplings, which if you'll look in my videos, you'll see that I've made a video on the red dumplings. And now, here's where you put a little bit of flour on your surface. And then put your biscuits on the paper. There you go. Now, you put a little flour on your hands and start kneading it together. Just start pushing it together. Bring it together and push it down. Just bring it together and push it down. You bring it together and push it down. Now's when I need to make sure your flour is still on the surface. I'm going to start kneading it into itself. And then how I'd say you bring it around and push it in the middle. Turn it, bring it around, push it in the middle. And then that actually starts getting everything incorporated that you put on your parchment paper. Getting the little pieces of dough back in here and gonna knead it into itself and make sure it's all up in there. And it's kind of wet and tacky to itself. Not tacky, but it's still, you can still feel it a little moist. So it's ready to roll out. So it's ready to roll out. I've incorporated everything that I had put on the parchment paper. I got my biscuit cutter. And what you're going to do is on your rolling pin, make sure that you get a good covering of some flour. And you can roll this out. Flat circle, not a flat circle. Make it the thickness that you want to cut your biscuits. The last time I made biscuits, I cut them a little thick so they were tall, but delicious. I actually tried this biscuit recipe yesterday and forgot to push recording. This time I've got recording going and making the biscuit recipe. So it's ready to cut. So what you're going to do with your biscuit, I have had this biscuit cutter for years. It's kind of shaped to my finger. I've heard that the technique you need to do is to push down, do not twist, and pull up so that the edges don't seal. Push down and pull up. This is cutting your biscuits. And I'm going to put them aside. And you can reform your ball. And you can actually smash it yourself with your hand. At this point, you don't have to use the rolling pin, but you can if you want. This is all what it's about making your own biscuits. Yep, that's it. And we try to use every bit of the dough. Try to use every bit of the dough. So the last one is going to be shaped like here they are. There's my biscuits, different widths, but still they're going to rise, so they're going to be good. So I'm fixing to show you where I'm going to put these biscuits. And this one's going to be big. See, that one's going to be big. So, and these are going to be a little bit smaller. So, I don't usually use a skillet, but I'm going to be using the skillet because a lady on the internet used a skillet, and it always does, got a little bit of oil on the bottom. So I'm going to put this big one in the middle and see about putting the other ones on the side, not touching. I'm going to try to not touch the other biscuit. Let's see what it does. Well, looks like I'm going to have to touch them a little bit because I made a few more biscuits this time. So, got a big one in the middle. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, that's what I'm going to be putting in the oven. So, what you're going to do is, this lady on the internet, she actually said to make sure that you have your oven off while you're making it. And then what you're going to do is turn your oven on to 450 to preheat. And then once it's ready to cook and the preheat is done and it says it's ready to go, then you put your biscuits in so that it has this time to relax from what you just did to the dough. So I'm going to do that and get back with you and show you our biscuits when they're done. So it's going to be 450 for 10 to 12 minutes. And they'll be really good. So I will show you this when I get back. Hello everybody, we're back with our biscuits. They've been in the oven for a little bit longer than 10 to 12 minutes because it looked like it needed it. So if it's not brown enough on the top, you would need to make sure that it gets a little brown on top because you want it to be done. So here are my biscuits. And they're nice and brown on top, and you can get a half a stick of butter and keep the plastic on it so you can butter the top of your biscuits. I've already done one coat of buttering everything on here, and you just butter it till you got a good, you know, got it good and melted on the top. And you can tell the biscuits are now moving on the bottom, so they're probably done. William, can you get me a fork? So, and some are taller, some are not as tall because they weren't all the same width when I cut them. So, here is one of them. So it's got it brown on the bottom, just like it is on the top. And we're going to put 2 on the plate. And now I'm just gonna.
I'll put it over here out of the way.
All right.
Since it is hot.
So now we have the 2 biscuits that we cooked, and if you'll see, as I cut in the middle of it, it's nice. It's really nice. Soft butter.
Yeah.
William and I are now preparing to taste this. And put a little butter on top, and it is looking really better. I made another recipe of this yesterday, and they were dry. So what I had to do was to add, instead of 2/3 cup of milk, I added 3/4 cup of milk. So, and here we're just going to put some butter on it. It's still hot, and let it melt. And William and I are going to taste this. So I'm glad I referred to a friend about, can I make biscuits with butter, because I was stuck on that recipe in my cookbook, because I tried that batch we had yesterday and it was delicious. Now I've got these biscuits cut and put a little bit of butter on each one, and William's going to try it and I'm going to try it. I'm glad that I had referred to a friend that can I use butter with my biscuits to make them, because I was stuck on that recipe that had shortening, and it was one that I just stayed with. So don't be afraid to try different recipes and refer to a friend to try to make things, because you might actually like a different recipe than you've been stuck with. So what do you think?
They're good.
And I had my biscuits from yesterday with a little syrup on top with sausage that William made. So I hope you liked it. I hope I helped you to see that you can stretch out and try different things. And thanks to all my friends that I talked with. I talked to a friend first and said, can I do it? And some coworkers, they do the same thing. So butter in your biscuits are delicious. There's different ways, as you may know, to make biscuits. And my family's wanted to see me cook foods so that they will see how I did cooking when they were little. So all their life we did shortening. Now we're switching. Now we're switching to butter. Definitely. And
sweet cream butter.
And if your biscuits are too dry, just add a little bit more milk, because this is better. This is even better. So add a little bit more milk if it's a little dry, and you'll have moister biscuits. So thanks for watching. I'm back to doing videos, and next William wants me to do sloppy joes. So this is a recipe that my family taught me, and nobody else has done that I think of. But even if they have, this is the way my mother taught me. So stay tuned, and I'll do a sloppy joe recipe. Subscribe, like, and add the notification so that you'll know that I'll have another video coming up. Thank you, and y'all come back.